Well, hi everyone, and welcome to another fun-filled edition of Adam's Music Box, where today we're going to talk about what I consider to be the best drummers of all time, my favorite drummers of all time, but I think many would agree that these are some of the best. So let's get right into it. I'm going to start with the most creative drummer of all time, a man who turns drumming into poetry, melody, suspense, horror, excitement, spirituality. It's the man pictured behind me, and that's Tony Williams. Just wow. No one did it like Tony. No one ever could. A truly individual style where not only the way that he decided to beat time, to solo his way around the kit, the way he would actually strike the instrument, you could hear it. You could hear the Tony Williams sound straight away, whether he was playing in traditional jazz, rock and roll, jazz fusion, experimental avant-garde punk rock. He did it, if you can believe it. He did everything. Now, if you really want to check him out in his literal element, check out his own work, particularly that done under the name of the Tony Williams Lifetime. The first album, which was a double album called Emergency, is in many ways the first ever fusion album. It features Larry Young on organ, also known as Khalid Rashad, and it features the great John McLaughlin on guitar. The second album from Lifetime, Turn It Over, same lineup, plus you've got Jack Bruce on bass and vocals, so it's even more hardcore. In 75, the group released what was probably the most accessible album, Turn It Over, featuring the great Alan Holdsworth on guitar. Check that out. Then there's the long out of print, The Old Bums Rush, the never printed, but very much available on YouTube, Stockholm Sessions. And there's just so much that he did later under Lifetime. There's a live Lifetime from 79 with Brian Auger on the keyboards, and Ronnie Montrose on guitar. Amazing live album, bootleg quality, but not that bad, still very listenable. And one of his guests on that performance was a fellow drummer who we're going to talk about now, and that's Billy Cobham. He's like an octopus behind the kit. How does he do so much at once with only two arms? Few will ever know. But anyone who ever saw that original lineup of the Mahavishnu Orchestra live will know that Billy Cobham is one of the best. Check out all of his work, both recorded on record and the live stuff that you'll see on YouTube with Mahavishnu. You'll love it. Check out a song called Bird Alone by Jack Bruce that Billy Cobham played with him on. Screw grammar, let's just have fun. In 1980, on the German television show Rock Palast, amazing drumming. You can't even keep up with it. And of course, there's the album Spectrum, which features his classic song Stratus. So much stuff. Again, with these great drummers, you can go to Discogs or even Wikipedia and look at all of their credits. Listen to it, make a playlist of all the stuff they've done. Next, we have Alphonse Mouzon, one of the most elegant sounding drummers ever. He glided across the drum set in a way that sort of defies the logic of a percussive instrument. He had speed, he had feel, he had groove, he had that silky smooth, as I said, way around the drum set. Man, could he play. Check out his work with Larry Coryell and the 11th House. Wow. Check out all of his solo albums. Mind Transplant is great. The Man Incognito. So Funky Snakefoot. Listen to all of them. Check out his credits. He is played with the best of the best. And but his solo albums, start with those and the Larry Coryell stuff, and then go on from there. Next, we have Lenny White. In many ways, he became initially really well known as being the drummer in Chick Corea's Return to Forever. And the drumming is, of course, superlative. Funky, yet spacious and spacey, and yet fast and attacking. This was a generation of drummers who weren't all timid, just, I hope no one hears me. I'm just going to pound on the bass drum. Like a lot of drummers today, frankly, no, these guys had flow. masterful flow. Lenny White, amazing. His solo albums were so soulful and funky, great tunes as well as great playing. So check out all of Lenny White's solo stuff. Check out particularly the song Prince of the Sea. Ooh, amazing. And of course, the stuff he did with Chick, some live video of that of the classic Electric Return to Forever lineup exists. Definitely check it out. We're going to go back in time a bit to the man who, in the early part of the 20th century, invented the modern drum set as we know it, and that's Baby Dodds. A lot of the recordings are quite primitive, so it's hard to hear detail, but the guy invented everything we know about the modern drum set. There would be no modern drummers without Baby Dodds. Next to the man who probably popularized the modern drum set more than anyone else in its early decades, and that was Gene Krupa. He was a star of stage, screen, and really a showman. He loved to make the drums do interesting things. He was percussive entertainment extraordinaire. And people fell in love with the drums and decided to become drummers because of Krupa. Now, Krupa wasn't only a showman, he had fantastic technique. He knew all of the rudiments, literally wrote the book on many of them, and really created the sound of drumming into the going from the early into the mid 20th century. He was, of course, an inspiration to the fastest of all the old school drummers, and that was Buddy Rich. Buddy Rich was younger than Krupa, of course, younger than Dodds, and had such speed. If there's anything to remember Buddy Rich for, speed, speed, speed. Wow. No one was ever faster. And he kept going on until his dying day. Check out his appearances on the Johnny Carson Tonight Show. You will not be disappointed. Going back to some what I consider modern drumming, Narada Michael Walden, maybe best known as a songwriter, singer, and producer for acts including Whitney Houston. He was also a fantastic drummer. Check out all of his solo album, the song White Night, I Should Have Loved You, Awakening Suite, the list goes on. But check out at least his first 5 solo albums and check out his work with Mahavishnu Orchestra, where he replaced Billy Cobham, appearing on the album Apocalypse, a must listen, Visions of the Emerald Beyond, must listen, Inner Worlds, must listen. He, again, gets eclipsed for his songwriting and production, but he could drum. And stepping into Billy Cobham's shoes is not easy, but Narada Michael Walden did it. Roy Haynes, he's been around forever, and he's played with the best of the best, a man who can both swing and rock within the jazz context. Check out some of the stuff he's done live with Chick Corea from around maybe 10, 15 years ago when he was already a really old man, but he played better than most 20-year-olds. Anything Roy Haynes has done is perfect, never made a mistake, always, always in the zone. Absolutely great. Elvin Jones, the king of bop. Never did a lot of the fusion or rocky stuff, but he made bop of all kinds. Be hard, post bop, he made it exciting. He hit the drums hard, but never at the expense of groove, feel, and swing. No one could swing like Elvin. Check out any of the recordings he's been on. Check out especially maybe the stuff he did with Coltrane. Wow, absolutely wow. Art Blakey, drummer as the star, drummer as the leader of a hard bop combo. As the leader of Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers, he gave so many young jazz musicians their start in life. It was like a revolving door of the who's gonna be who of jazz musicians. Anything that he did from his early albums to his late albums, Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers, classic, quintessential jazz drumming. Turning to the rock world, Bill Bruford, who was also in the jazz world, of course, but he got his start in rock. What a touch he had, an amazing touch, an amazing feel, so tasteful, so brilliant with making polyrhythms danceable. He could take polyrhythmic textures, he could take odd meters, and he could make them groove. And he did so in a way that eschewed all stereotypes. He was really a drummer that had a sound all his own, and everything he did was great. His work with UK, a kind of fusiony rock band, his stuff with Earthworks, his own electric jazz, and later on acoustic jazz band, the electric fusion band Bruford from the late 70s, with, of course, Alan Holdsworth on guitar, Jeff Berlin on bass. Definitely check them out. And of course, his work with Yes, King Crimson, legendary, goes without saying. Even played for a year live with Genesis and was wonderful there. Sticking with prog rock, Carl Palmer, the rock version of Buddy Rich. Carl, again, was like Buddy Rich in that all about speed, but he also had a great melodic feel for the drums. And even though he hit hard, played fast, he never made the drums irritating the way so many drummers who think it's all about speed do. He never sacrificed speed for melody. He had both. And he's a really nice guy. Emerson, Lake and Palmer, band of virtuosos. Philly Joe Jones, what a drummer from the golden age of bebop, played with everyone, literally everyone of that golden 50s and 60s age of post-war jazz. A swing like no other, soloing that was so tasteful. Mr. Taste, which is why he got booked on so many sessions. Just check out all of the artists he's played with. You can't go wrong. No relation, but Papa Joe Jones, no, again, no relation, but of a previous generation, so much of that soul, even at an earlier stage, a man who made the 30s, 40s, and 50s into sort of took drumming into that from the pre-war to the post-war age. Again, wonderful touch, wonderful feel. Neil Peart, or is it Peart? We might never know. I'm sure some of you out there know. Drummer for Rush, an absolute legend. Unlike many drummers, he actually he composed for the drum. There wasn't much improvisation involved. And the drums were not only part of the song, but if you were to isolate his drums and listen to them without the guitar, bass, keys, and vocals of Rush music, they played a song. Drumming as composition, drumming as song, what wonderful technical ability as well. Steve Gadd, Captain Shuffle, Captain Groove, all over every major album of the 70s, 80s, and beyond because of that classic shuffle. Again, check out his credits. You've heard him. If you've listened to music, you have heard him. Check him out. And if you've listened to music, you will have heard of this next drummer, Jeff Porcaro, a man who didn't probably even know the word mistake. He was just a man that if you wanted something clean, correct, precise, but with feel, with amazing feel. And when he wanted to solo or was given a commission to solo, damn, he could solo. And of course, the founding drummer of Toto, a band that was really his own, along with the others in the band. Of course, he had several brothers in the band, which kind of helped that. But yeah, Jeff Porcaro, any drummer will tell you, he just made everything absolutely perfect. You can't talk about rock and roll drumming and heavy rock drumming without John Bonham. But in many ways, he was similar to a jazz drummer in the sense that he was about feel and about swing and about groove. His big, naturally reverberant sound was something that was unique to him in many ways. And of course, he inspired everyone who came after him to have that big reverberant sound, but he invented his own sound. And even though he's remembered as sort of Mr. Hard Rock, he swung. And that's what made Led Zeppelin work. It wasn't just pounding metronomically, it was groovy and swinging as hell because Bonham had jazz chops. And that's why so many jazz players respected Bonham. And again, that's why Led Zeppelin had a groove. It wasn't sort of head smashing music. It was out there, but it was heavy as hell at the same time. Absolutely wonderful stuff. Keith Moon, not a technician, but a showman and a great sense of melody. A lot of people don't think of that when they think of Keith Moon. Not everyone needs to be a technician in order to really have a great sense of song. And Keith Moon did. He popularized the drums by being a wild man. And frankly, a lot of people across many genres decided to play the drums because of him. Ed Shaughnessy from the Tonight Show, Johnny Carson's drummer for many years. What speed he had. He could keep up with Buddy Rich. No one was as fast as Buddy, but they did some drum duos, and it was pretty awesome. To be in a house band like that for all these years and still do session work, still do gigging work, he was great. Ed Shaughnessy, and apparently a really cool guy to be around. So definitely check him out. There are so many great drummers. The list could go on. I know that I'm forgetting loads of important drummers and loads of great drummers, but these are just some of my favorites. I'm sure as soon as the video turns off, I'm going to think of more, which is why I'm kind of sort of trying to stall for time. John Marshall of Soft Machine, of Nucleus, played with a lot of great German big bands and German funk bands, a very unique approach. It seemed messy and chaotic, but within that, it was so virtuosic. He wasn't afraid of a bit of tempo rubato also. He could make things swing without being in the pocket, like some great drummers are. John Marshall was outside of the pocket, but then you've got people like Dennis Chambers, the best in the pocket drummer ever. And of course, I could go on and on. Bernard Purdie. The Purdie Shuffle. Amazing. Articulate, understands the instrument inside and out. Again, he has a technique, a drumming trope named after him because he invented it, and he's played on so many albums. His name pops up even where you wouldn't expect it because, as he rightly said, I'm the hit maker. There was a sign that he used to set up next to his drums in the studios. You just unhired the hit maker. And there's a lot of truth to that. If you had Bernard Purdie on your record, there's a good chance it was going to be a hit. Alex Van Halen, a great rock drummer. People overlook him, but watch some of his solos, especially from the 1995 tour, Neck Brace and all. He really had chops and was a trained musician and really helped give that band its sound apart from the guitar. He had a distinct sound on drums, just like his brother had on guitar. So, of course, we can talk about all sorts of genres, all sorts of styles, many ways to make drums great. Louis Bellson, one of the first to really play with a double bass. Ginger Baker, although maybe known more for his antics in his later years, he really took the African sound of drums, the pure sound of an African master drummer, and converted that to the modern drum set. He wasn't one for riding on the cymbals a lot, though he could do that, and he could certainly swing. He would ride on the toms. One of his teachers, Phil Seaman, one of the great English drummers, he was very much into African rhythms as well, inspired a lot with Ginger. And again, the list could go on and on, but now it's your turn to decide. Who are your favorite drummers? Put your comments in the little comment section below, and we'll continue on this conversation. Who knows, maybe a part 2 will come. Like, subscribe. We will see you next time. Take care.